I'm Amina King from the National Broadcast Association, and today we are sitting down with Tim Scott and Elizabeth Warren to have a conversation about their policies. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So let's get right into it. What policies would you enact to combat the opioid epidemic?
Well, I think we really need to address this problem at its root by targeting the big pharmaceutical companies and the opioid industry. We also need to provide more support for those affected by the crisis and work on treating addiction and expanding inpatient and outpatient care.
While I agree with Senator Warren that this issue is a very large issue, I think that the root of it actually lies in the impoverished areas that are most susceptible to this crisis. I think that we need to use tax cuts and other monetary benefits to uplift these places so that they don't fall prey to that. I think that by investing in these pharmaceutical companies, we can really help to they can perhaps create more jobs, which could in effect actually help the people who are suffering from this crisis.
Next question. What policies are you willing to enact to combat climate change?
As I've previously mentioned, I have discussed with President Macron about re-entering the Paris Climate Accord because this is truly a global issue and needs to be addressed on a global scale. I also support the Green New Deal and plan to fund a down payment on it with my ultra-millionaires tax.
I think we need to regulate our industries, but not to the point where our economy would suffer as a result, or we would lose jobs or force our employers to have to lay off workers because of the heavy regulations that have been imposed. In addition, I think that in terms of energy, another alternative that I would really like to invest in is nuclear energy. It's cheap, it would not hurt our economy, it would lower energy prices for our Americans. It's clean, nothing comes out but steam, and it's very powerful. A single power plant can power a very large area of homes and businesses.
I think we need to take more bold action than what Senator Scott has opposed. We can also start by reducing military spending and taxing non-renewable energy sources. I have a strong record of advocating for our environment. I have been endorsed by the Sierra Club and Clean Water Action. I also have a 100% rating from the League of Conservation Voters, while Senator Scott only has a 3% life rating.
Well, climate change is a very serious problem, but I do not think that cutting from the money that we send to our troops to help protect us and make sure that this opportunity is achievable for all of the citizens in America, I don't think that's the right way to go on this. I also don't believe that we should be withdrawing money from any other programs, or especially, I don't think that we should be, we really want to keep that national debt under control. I also believe that we really do need to focus on our economy and our industries because climate change is a very serious issue, but we can't forget about the unemployment rate and those who do not have jobs in this country.
What steps would you take to address mass incarceration?
So our criminal justice system is very biased today. You find that people of color who are convicted of crimes can receive sentences that are 2 times, 3 times, 4 times more harsh and more lengthy than those who are not the people who are not of color, who are white, who are convicted of the same crimes. I think that's an issue that we really need to look into to ensure that we have a standard criminal justice system that's applied fairly to people regardless of their race. I also believe that once in prison, the decisions that somebody made that resulted in them being in prison should not affect them for the rest of their life, in the sense that they should not be so set back by their in their education and their career that they do not know how to re-enter society, that they really can't re-enter society. And so that's why I sponsored the First Step Act, which helps to educate and to provide job training for those who are currently incarcerated in prisons.
I believe that our criminal justice system needs massive reform. I would like to reduce the penalty for nonviolent offenders, and I also believe we need to start creating implicit bias training for all those involved in the system, including police officers and prison guards. I would also like to create training programs, job training programs, and education, food, and shelter programs for incarcerated individuals, so upon being released, they can have the support system that they need and are not forced to return to crime as a result of poverty. I also think we need to put more energy on treating incarcerated individuals with respect. I sponsored the Dignity for Incarcerated Women Act, which will help incarcerated women have more access to their families, and it will also require prisons to distribute sanitary supplies to women for free.
Okay. Earlier you mentioned the effects of high unemployment rates. So how would you work to combat unemployment?
I would work on focusing energy towards supporting the middle class. I think that the Ultramillionaires tax plan will really help give a lot of support and funds for these programs, including universal health care, universal child care, in decreasing housing costs, and eliminating student debt.
I believe that the Senator Warren brings up some very good points, but I believe that the unemployment crisis, or the high levels of unemployment that we are facing, they are a result of, they start with our businesses, they start with our industries, and I think that by giving our industries incentives, by providing them with the ability to thrive, to hire more people, to innovate, that we can really help to combat this crisis at where it starts, which is with the people who do the employing. And so I think we need to work on policies that provide incentives for big businesses to hire more employees, that help small businesses start up. We really need to focus on our small businesses and really just to focus on our economy and how it affects those who do not have jobs.
I believe that if we truly want to focus on helping the middle class, then we should direct our efforts towards programs that benefit those in the middle class rather than the elite in huge businesses.
I just wanted to also say that we really don't only want to focus on the middle class. I think it's very important that we also focus on the working class. That is another very large part of society that we need to focus on rebuilding just at the same levels, or more levels, than we focus on rebuilding the middle class.
Okay.
I guess just a question on, just to follow up on that, when you said, like, we need to work on rebuilding the working class America.
Yeah.
Like, what ways do you think that you could do that? What policies?
So I previously sponsored opportunity zones, as I may have mentioned earlier, that provide tax incentives to those who are in areas such as very rural, impoverished rural areas, or impoverished urban areas, inner cities, that would help to allow them to keep their money and be able to use it to perhaps provide an education or to look into job opportunities. And so I think that it's important that we don't forget these kind of forgotten places of America, that we really make sure that we continue to support them and to make sure that they have access to the education that they need, and they have a choice of where to go to school, so that they are able to, that we provide the opportunity so that they're able to succeed.
I think the government has a big responsibility to make sure that everyone is able to prosper, and that is why I plan to implement a lot of programs to support those in the middle and working class, as I mentioned previously, and also providing more easier access to education, because I think that's really a great way to invest in our children and in our future, and make sure that everyone has equal chance for success regardless of their background.
So immigrants are a large part of the working class. So what would your plans be for immigration reform?
I think we need to make an easier and clearer path to immigration and to citizenship. We can start by, we can start by investing in more immigration judges and also more support for those, especially by providing legal protection to minors in face of deportation.
I think that when it comes to immigration, we need to really focus on our economy and the needs that our job force, because immigrants can provide so much in the way of our job force and our industries. And so I support a merit-based immigration system similar to the one used in Canada. I believe that we need to prioritize, while I'm saying we should let immigrants in, I'm saying that we need to prioritize those who would be able to, who are trained or educated in the areas that our economy currently needs. For example, if we had a lack of agricultural workers, we would prioritize those who had agricultural experience in the past, and so they be able to come and support our economy. And we would also, because there is a quota, so we would also let in others so that our economy would benefit and it would be beneficial to both them and to all of us in these United States.
Okay, so last question. Are you willing to act in support of gun control? What would your plans be for gun control?
We definitely need common sense gun reform. We should enforce stricter background checks, increase the waiting period, and also start implementing red flag laws so we can make sure that these deadly weapons do not come into the hands of those who present a threat to themselves and others. I also think we should make the weapons themselves safer by reducing the sale and use of high-capacity magazines.
In terms of gun control, I think we really need to address the root of the issue, which is mental health. I believe that there is a way to combat the increasing amount of violence in our country without stripping our citizens of their Second Amendment rights to bear arms and to own weapons. I think that we need to focus on what has driven them to commit the crimes they have, and that needs to come from a wide support system, and there needs to be a clear avenue for people who suspect that somebody might be struggling or might be needing some help to contact the authorities, to contact local psychiatric or psychologists in the area. And I think that the issue here doesn't really lie with guns. I think that guns are a means to an end, that guns are just a symptom of the underlying cause, and that these people who are so mentally disturbed as to shoot innocent people, I feel that even if they didn't have access to a gun, they would still have access to another weapon. Like, they could make a homemade bomb and cause the same amount of devastation. They could potentially grab a kitchen knife. So I think that we really need to focus our gun control policies to be focused not on specifically the guns themselves, but on the issues that cause people to act in such violent ways toward their fellow Americans.
I disagree with Senator Scott. I believe that guns are incredibly capable of mass destruction, and we do need to take action to reduce them. And we do need to take action to reduce the use of guns in our society, because they are incredibly destructive, and ignoring them will not make the problems go away.
All right, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have been here.
It was great.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.